Good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time zone you are in. All of my fans out there worldwide, different time zones and different area codes. Welcome to the Whole 10 Yards. I am your host, Julio Zepeda. It is week 16 of the NFL. Please stay tuned. We got a special edition coming up this week when we are doing just audio. See how that works out. We have 5 games to look at this week. A lot of playoff implications. The season is coming to an end. A lot of playoff teams already locked in. Stay tuned in. We're going to get right into it, guys. All right, guys. First game we're looking at is the Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Titans are 8-6. Jaguars have a record of 2-12. Why am I talking about this game, you ask me? It's because the Titans are in second place in the AFC South. They also happen to have an 8-game losing streak on the road in those AFC South games. I know it's a little bleak stat, but it's kind of important because playoff teams, which the Titans want to be, need to win on the road, especially in December and coming to the end of the season. And they're playing at Jacksonville, so they definitely have to win this game. The Titans have the third-ranked rushing offense. They actually surprised me last week with that win against the Chiefs. I didn't think they were going to pull it off, but with that last-second field goal for the second attempt actually went through, and they were able to beat the Chiefs. But they have to keep pace with Houston. The Houston Texans are 5-0 in the South. The Tennessee Titans are 1-3. So if it actually came down to it, end up with the same record, the Houston Texans would win the tiebreaker and win the AFC South. Last week's game was pretty intense. The Titans had the ball back with 0 timeouts and 1 minute and 7 seconds left with the ball on the 25-yard line. There was a breakdown on 2 massive plays, including that first play when the Titans were driving against Kansas City. The Kansas City defense actually let me down, but it's okay. It's all good. So the Tennessee Titans and that rushing offense needs to get going in Jacksonville. Marcus Mariota had a decent game, even though he didn't find the end zone through the air the last week. But I expect them to have a much better game. It is Jacksonville. There's a lot of turmoil going down over there. They have the new head coach, even though Doug Marrone, their interim head coach for now, has been a head coach before. It's a lot of mess. Things aren't going as well as they had planned, obviously. That's why they fired head coach Gus Bradley. And for Jacksonville, they do need to find a new quarterback. So I don't think their offense is going to be able to keep up, even though the defense shows up sometimes and makes a few plays. I don't think their offense is going to be able to keep up. Blake Bortles is definitely not the franchise quarterback that they thought. So I think this game is all about the Titans. They have to show up, just like another team, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But the Titans have to show up 8-6. They have to keep pace with the Texans. Hopefully the Texans lose against the Cincinnati Bengals later. I want the Titans to win this game. I think they will. That third-ranked rushing offense with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry actually scored twice last week. It'll be good. And I expect the Tennessee Titans to win. Go to 9-6 and then finish out the season strong against Houston. See what happens. All right. Second game we're looking at, Sunday Night Football. It is a rematch and round 2 of Sunday night between these two teams. The Denver Broncos visiting the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. Broncos are 8-6 on the year. The Chiefs are 10-4, second place in the AFC West. So both of these two teams are hoping to get second place in that and be one of the wildcard teams going into the playoffs in the postseason. The last time these two teams met in Week 13, it was a great game. Justin Houston, outside linebacker, his first game back. I was pretty stoked about that. He had a great game, I thought, even though they tried to switch up the right tackles on him. Neither of the tackles they put out there could stop him. Looking at the injury report, Brandon Marshall, linebacker for the Denver Broncos, is out. TJ Ward, safety, is also out. And they're also missing 2 of their tight ends. An offense that's already lacking in some firepower is going to be missing some more pieces. For the Chiefs, defensive cornerback Philip Gaines is out, which actually might be a good thing because the last time he played, he was getting burnt by Emmanuel Sanders left and right, so not like it mattered. But the big thing that stood out to me about this game, looking at the preview for this game, the Kansas City Chiefs, they had a massive breakdown on defense last week against Tennessee. Number 40, I believe, is number 49. Just looking at the tape, that outside linebacker, just miscommunication. Nobody's telling him he was out of position, and especially on that last drive when it actually mattered, and they weren't able to pull it off. But I think this week, this rematch, it'll be good for Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to win. They're going to have the home crowd behind them, and they need to be getting ready for that playoff push. I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to win. Travis Kelce needs to keep going off. He had a few games where he had 100 yards receiving or more. He needs to keep that going, but the Kansas City offense needs to get in the end zone, and Andy Reid needs to not call a quarterback rollout on 3rd and 2. Just you first 2 downs, you ran it with your running back, and they almost got it for you. Run it again with the running back. Don't have your quarterback out there with the quarterback option. That's not Alex Smith's forte, I guess, if you say. But I expect them to have a better game plan. Broncos defense is great, and they still are an elite defense, but I don't think it's going to be enough because the offense isn't enough, and I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to win. All right, guys. Game 3, Monday Night Football. Another primetime game with the Dallas Cowboys in it. Wow, surprise, surprise. But the Detroit Lions are going down to Dallas. They're playing at the Cowboys. The Lions carry a 9-5 record, and the Cowboys, as you may or may not know, have the best record in the league at 12-2. The Lions need to win this game. They have the Packers creeping up on them. The Packers have been going on their little tear of their own with Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately, playing as well as he has been. I say unfortunately because I still hate him, but it's okay. Let's see. Looking at last week's game, the Lions, they had a 5-game winning streak. They played the Giants, which is actually ended up being a loss for them. Looking at that game, the replay and all that good stuff, they had a lot of key dropped balls. It seemed like it was a lot in the first half, but actually being all game. Just throughout the whole game, the receivers were dropping a lot of the balls, and just some stuff they were getting their hands on, they just couldn't reel it in. And I think that might have a little bit to do with Matthew Stafford's dislocated finger. If you may or may not know, that he dislocated his finger a couple of weeks ago. His middle finger, I believe, is his middle finger. So when he's delivering that ball, it seems like he's missing a little bit of a touch. But hopefully, with this week, another week of rest, or not rest, but another week of just those ligaments getting a little bit better. Hopefully, going back to 100%. One thing that did stand out also, the Lions had a turnover in the end zone. That wasn't good. They weren't able to get in there. They also had a dropped ball in the end zone that resulted in a field goal attempt instead. They did score, but a field goal. And also the defense. A lot of people are talking about the Lions defense and how they weren't getting enough notoriety or enough attention, and how they don't miss a lot of tackles, which is true. But that defense got gashed for against the run in the first half. It was just. I don't even know. I mean, right off the bat, the New York Giants came running the ball. The first play of the game was an 8-yard gain, and it continued through the first half and throughout the game, actually. I don't think that the Detroit defense is going to be good enough. Just looking at the game, the New York Giants do not carry an elite running offense just like as the Dallas Cowboys do. And I'm sure everybody knows how Ezekiel Elliott's been playing all year. So I don't think it's going to be enough. Matthew Stafford and that offense is definitely good enough to keep up with the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't think the defense will show up. Detroit Lions also have a playmaker in running back Zach Zenner. He made a lot of plays. He had about 50 receiving yards and about 50 rushing yards. It's pretty good, but just something about that kid looked a little bit flashy. It's good. Dallas has that number 2 rushing offense. I think that Detroit is definitely going to have a hard time against that. We'll see, but they do. They wrap up when they can, which is pretty good. But it doesn't help if you're tackling somebody 15, 20 yards on the field. So I think that the Detroit Lions will actually lose this game, and then it's going to come down to the end of the season against the Green Bay Packers, and that's going to be a doozy of a game. And now for the most important game of the week, the most important game of the season until the Super Bowl, of course. And it's a very selfish statement, and I don't care, because Sunday afternoon should have been the last game of the season, the last game of the week, in my opinion. But it's okay. It doesn't matter. The Baltimore Ravens going up to the Steel City, Pittsburgh Steelers, to fight for the AFC North. The Ravens are 8-6. The Steelers, my Steelers, are 9-5. Finally, I think we're getting a little bit of a sense of what the rivalry used to be like. The rivalry might be back. I only say that it's been gone because we've been getting our butts kicked the past 2 years. The Ravens seem to be our kryptonite, the Steelers' kryptonite. They've won 4 in a row against Pittsburgh. And that Pittsburgh defense, you know what? They need to step up. They have to show up. If you go watch some Stephen A. Smith, what he had to say, I can get that loud and angry, but I don't want to because it's very late or very early, depending on where you're at. But that Steelers defense showed up last week. Lawrence Timmons had 2 interceptions. We need that kind of performance again. They need to start playing like they used to. And I'm nervous, guys. I'm very nervous. Whoever wins this game is going to make the playoffs, and whoever loses I don't think it's going to happen. Really scared for the Steelers to not make the playoffs this year after everybody, including myself, figured they would be Super Bowl favorites. But it's going to be good. I hope it's going to be good. The Ravens do scare me. They have the number 2 ranked rushing defense. And, the last game, Ben was a little bit hurt. Big Ben, quarterback Ben Roethlisberger was hurt. He did get going late in the second half and the fourth quarter, but it was too late eventually. But I think that they need to start strong. They need to go at it again with similar offensive mentality. They need to get out the gate, just score fast, score early, and just keep it up. They got to make tackles. something the defense have been kind of struggling with, and they got to get to Flacco. Most importantly, that defense needs to create a pass rush, needs to disrupt Joe Flacco. And honestly, last game, Mike Wallace torched us for 124 yards, but one pass that went for like 90 yards. Like, somebody come up and make a tackle. Damn, what are you doing? But it's okay. It's going to be good. Le'Veon Bell has been on a tear. He's averaging 142.6 rushing yards per game in the last 5 games. It's a good streak for him. He's also had 6 touchdowns over that span, and the all-purpose back that he's averaging 48.2 receiving yards. So I expect that to happen. They need to get him, line him up in the slot, like I've been saying all along. Todd Haley, I think, will have a good game plan, and we can get our revenge. But that Ravens defense, they're good for a reason. They're averaging just about 100 yards per game on the ground that they're giving up. So hopefully that will mean success for us. Give me $115 from Le'Veon Bell, 2 tubs, Antonio Brown get like another 80 through the air. It's gonna be good. But I am scared. I'm very nervous, and I just hope that it'll become a good Christmas. Because if not, then I will be drinking lots and lots of eggnog, and the adult kind of eggnog. So we'll see. But happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. We'll see how this turns out. Tune in to the live tweeting that I will be doing. Follow me on Twitter at the whole 10 yards. You can follow my personal account. Find me if you want on there, but that doesn't matter. No, follow at the whole 10 yards. I'll be posting this on Instagram. Hopefully you guys can follow me there too. And Merry Christmas. Go Steelers. Here we go.